to another episode with Piper. We just finished riding and she was really good. I'm so happy that we're slowly making progress. For those of you guys that have been following her journey, she's the horse that came and had a lot of bucking. So we had her checked out by the vet. We're treating her for ulcers and she had her teeth done and all sorts of stuff. And so she's doing a lot better now, but we are just keeping things really slow. And because we are treating her for ulcers, we want to be really fair and not asking her to do too much and just keeping it all at the walk. But I'm pretty excited for you guys to see what we did today. Before we jump into that video, just want to share with you guys that I did decide to become a Zyia Active Wear rep. So I'm going to share the link to the Zyia Active Wear in the description of this video. Definitely check it out. I'm actually wearing the high-rise pocket leggings right now. These are the black light and tight leggings, and so what I love about them, any of the Zyia Active Wear, the material they use, it doesn't collect fur. So whether you have dogs or cats or horses, this is me after the ride and there's like nothing, I don't even have to wipe any hair off, it's just not there. Compared to when I wear some of my other horse riding pants, they can get covered in fur and they look kind of ridiculous. So I love that, and then I love that there's the pockets in the sides that fit my cell phone, so when I go out I can put a cell phone in one side and put my wallet or something in the other side, so it's super duper handy for that. So definitely check them out, make some great Christmas presents or presents to yourself, whatever you want to do. So definitely check out the link in the description. And one thing to just keep in mind if you are shopping on the Zyia website through my link is that some of the leggings don't have pockets. So if you want to make sure you get the pockets or the 2-pocket one, make sure you search for the ones that say pocket or 2-pocket, otherwise you might accidentally end up buying one without pockets. So anyways, thank you for listening to that little spiel. Check out that Zyia website and let's check out Piper's ride.
Alright, so here's some footage of Piper on her first day that I did a little bit of riding on her. So to start with, I did some just getting up and down from both sides of the saddle and just doing some leaning over her back, and just kind of like this where I kind of leaned over, because Piper has shown us that she's pretty sensitive around her belly and that she definitely has a good buck when she's going around getting used to the saddle. I don't want her to have any of that with me whatsoever. So we're really taking a lot of baby steps with her to really try not to overwhelm her and to take things really slow. So to start with, I just kind of leaned over her back as I was led around. And then that way, if she was overwhelmed, I could easily push myself off and get to safety if that was a concern. I usually skip this step in most horses that I train under saddle because they're usually pretty easy on how they react to things and I'm not worried about them going off bucking. But for Piper, because she is more sensitive and can be more reactive, I thought we would include that step with her, and it worked really nicely. She was really good about it and she didn't do anything bad whatsoever. So it was totally just precaution type thing to just get used to things and keep it really safe, or set it up to be safer as best as we can. And she did really well with it, me leaning over her and whatnot. So it was really well done. So I was pretty happy about that. So after we did a little bit of leading me around, just kind of draped over her back, and we did some of that from both sides and me rubbing her on both sides. Then I thought, okay, she's ready for me to actually put my leg over and try being led. And you can see she's already thinking, okay, I get a cookie when she gets on, because we did practice mounting at the mounting block and sitting on her and doing that. So now it's just moving forward, and I wasn't sure how she would react to weight on her back moving forward, just because we all know what Piper can look like with the saddle just being done up, going around for the first time. And she does settle out of it and is okay, but just in case, I wanted to be really safe. So I'm having my staff just lead me around and basically take me for a pony ride. So I am a glorified sack of potatoes, just sitting up there and trying to just be nice and relaxed and calm and soft energy. And Annalise is doing all of the leading, and we're letting Piper stop every now and again to get a cookie and to just breathe. And so started off just walking slowly and letting Piper kind of take her time. and trying not to rush her or overwhelm her, just letting her get used to that feel. Just trying to keep it really slow and relaxed. So you can see uh, she's going really slow, like almost like a snail pace there. And I'm giving her some rubs. I want to make sure she knows that I am up on her back and that she's not scared of that. And then I'm also giving her cookies every now and again as well. So I'm kind of patting on her bum, patting on her back. I don't want to sit so still that she's surprised that I'm up on her back. So I still want to, give her rewards. I want her to be aware that that's where I am, and make sure that she's not going to get startled if she kind of looks back and goes, oh my gosh, there's a human over there. So we have to be careful about that to make sure that she stays present and kind of in the moment and aware of what's going on. So we did a fair bit of walking around, and she got a lot smoother and started walking out a lot better. So here's a little look more towards the end of the session. You can see she's walking at a much more normal pace now, looks a lot more relaxed. Her head's nice and low, and she's doing really, really well. So we did a lot of walking laps, really just trying to get her to a place where she could be not worried about the session and just kind of nonchalant about the whole thing. And she did really well. She didn't put a hoof wrong, so to speak, and she followed Annalise really nicely. And I was definitely tempted. I wanted to do more. I wanted to definitely, like in first rides for horses, I tend to do a lot more. But I thought, you know what? There's no point rushing this. It's not even like I can train her to ride, walk, trot, canter during this whole month anyways because of her lameness. So there literally is no reason to rush. It's not good for the horse to rush physically and mentally. So as much as I want to do more, we're just sitting and being a sack of potatoes. That's the goal for this session. We're achieving our session, and we're going to leave it there on a good note. So before we wrapped up this session, we did laps both to the right and the left, with Annalise walking on the left side of her, with Annalise walking on the right side of her, just to kind of cover our basis for the pony ride, and making sure that I stick to my guns of just, okay, the goal was happy, nice pony ride, and we achieved it, and ending on a good note. And that, I was actually pretty impressed with her there when she shook like that. I was a little bit worried when she shook that she might be kind of triggered or something just because I was on her back, but she was totally fine and relaxed. So I was really, really happy with this session. And, she got some good cookies. We kept it really positive. She did some nice walking laps. And then we decided to end our session on that really good note and call it a day for that particular ride. And then we'll show you some clips of her next ride, which was the next day after that. So I gave her some cookies on both sides, which really encourages her to bend both left and right. So that's pretty key and is a pretty nice thing to do with them. It's just another perk of using positive reinforcement, that you can get those bends without having to pull or anything like that. And then I asked Annalise to just do a little bit of lowering her head a little bit more so we could just kind of gauge her level of tension. And so she's pretty eager to earn those cookies and pretty eager to listen. So I figured she did a really good job. So we dismounted, and that was that for that first ride. So that's all we did, which was very, very basic for a first ride. So then this is the second ride. So this is the next day now. So I rode her 2 days in a row, and then she got a day off. And we're just doing really slow, really basic stuff. We're just walking, basically doing desensitizing work. And so I kind of check in that she's okay with me mounting up. And right away she's like, all right, I get a cookie, right? I stood still while you got on. And I mounting her from the ground because I want to make sure she's okay with me kind of pulling on her side like that. And even though I do mount from the mounting block most of the time because it's better for the horse's back, I wanted to kind of test her out a little bit. So you can see already on this ride, I'm doing a lot more moving around. And so the goal of this session was to have her more comfortable with moving around, doing me being more present, doing different things in the ride. So kind of starting to take on a little bit more of an active role of being a rider. So you can see I'm moving around with my arms, stretching, doing some circles, moving around. So I started around off with kind of doing that with my upper body, just kind of moving my arms left, right, and just paying attention to if she, slowed down or stopped or got worried or raised her head or anything like that. And just making different movements and kind of getting a feel for what potentially triggers her. And you can see she kind of puts her ears to the side and back a little bit. Like she's definitely aware and paying attention, but she's not doing anything bad or making me feel nervous like she's going to do, explode or something like that. She's really doing quite well. So she's going to earn a little cookie for that. And of course, we do things from both sides. So Annalise does leading from both the left side and the right side. And then that way it lets Piper have both eyes be exposed to see what's going on. And so if she is going to have a reaction or get overwhelmed with one eye, we want to make sure we train both of those eyes and give her equal opportunity to see things. So it's not going to be surprising for her. And when we start to progress in this riding, I want to make sure she's confident out of both of her eyes. It's really important. So you can see I'm moving around pretty good there with my arms, stretching, moving around, doing both sides, both arms, up, down, all around, forward, back. So she's getting pretty used to me moving around up there, which is really good. So after she was good with that, then I moved on to doing some stuff with my lower body and kind of my full body. So you can see I'm kind of standing up and sitting down, getting her used to that posting and that movement. So I find it's easiest for horses if we start with the upper body and kind of our arms and hands moving around. And then I go to usually some posting and stuff. And lastly, I'll go to moving my legs around and kind of bumping around on their sides and stuff like that. And I just find that progression really helps horses not get overwhelmed. And so we're really taking things slowly here, leaning forward, leaning back. We're really trying to cover all of our bases to make sure that Piper's totally comfortable with a rider up on her back and make sure she has a really positive experience. We know she very easily gets overwhelmed with, doing up a girth on her belly, which probably could be related to potentially having ulcers, which is why she is being treated for ulcers. So we're trying to be as fair as possible. And it's definitely, tricky. The owner only has the horse in for training for a month, and we don't want to do anything that's going to hurt the horse or upset the horse. At the same time, we want to try to give some training and some value and accomplish something, so that way, the owner can walk away and know what next steps are at the very least with this horse. So Piper isn't going to be trained as far along as most horses would be trained at the end of a month training. Rio was kind of similar, and I almost wonder if Rio maybe had ulcers as well. If we had done a vet check on him, what that would have looked like for him. But at least Rio, I could ride around, walk, trot, and kind of get him moving around. And Piper, I'm not sure if we'll get there. We have to be careful also because she's not 100% sound with her sore feet and her thin soles. So we just have to make sure we're super duper fair. But the nice thing about doing the type of work that we're doing is that this is all very slow, very calm. It's not stress triggering in the sense that although it can be stressful for them, it's not super stress inducing to worry about making the ulcer situation worse. And we're not doing anything that's too hard on her feet for moving around. So we're trying to keep it all within her abilities and yet still give good value and good experiences to the horse to set them up better for later for success. So here what we're doing is a little bit of just moving her hips around, doing a little bit of sideways, and I'm starting to put my leg on her a little bit and just starting to introduce that idea to her. And we can do all of this stuff while not putting a whole lot of pressure on her, not putting a lot of physical demands on her, not asking her to do a lot with her thin-soled, sore feet. And she is seemingly moving around a little bit more comfortable, I think. And I think she did a really good job with moving around, and I'm starting to add a fair bit of rhythm into my leg, kind of bumping her off that and asking her to move over. And she's doing a really good job. I'm really impressed with her, how easy that's going for her. And so we decide, that's a really good girl. So I hop off of her there, and that's how we decided to wrap up her second session. So she's had 2 little rides now, and we're going to keep kind of working on that and progressing up to me eventually riding her by myself at the walk and just going around. But there's a look at her first 2 rides under saddle. I would love to know your thoughts.